Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm here today on behalf of Team Less Than 3 to introduce you to our product, Emotition. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly introduce myself, and then my teammates will do so as well. My name is Jeffrey Shi. I'm currently a rising junior at Phillips Academy Andover, and for this project, I worked on the marketing and research.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bella Badak. I am a senior at UMass Boston studying psychology and minoring in computer science. For this project, I did UX research and design.
Hi everyone, my name is Kajal Gupta and I'm a rising freshman at Carnegie Mellon and I'll be studying computer science. And for this product, I worked on full stack development and UI UX design.
Hi everyone, I'm Ahmed Al-Qurashidi. I'm currently a computer engineering student at Cairo University. On this project, I worked on computer vision.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kunjal Panchal, a graduate student in computer science at UMass Amherst. I'm a mentor of this awesome team, plus I worked on machine learning modeling part.
So before we begin, I know it's early in the morning, so I'd like to ask a very open-ended question to get your minds moving a little. What's one thing everyone loves? You guys can just think about it or write it down in the chat room. So I'll give you a second to think. Sleep, coffee, and yeah, these are all great responses. And really there's no right answer, but yeah, these are great responses. But I'm sure one that we can all agree on is food. I'm sure we can all agree that food is something that has the ability to bring joy and happiness to our everyday lives. Even looking at these pictures of delicious foods alone, it evokes powerful and strong emotions and maybe even a sense of hunger for some of us. But although for most of us, food is something that brings joy, this is not always the case for everyone. For lots of people, especially in recent years, food has been a source yielding lots of negative emotion, bringing feelings such as anxiety, distress, and even depression in some cases. So why is this happening? Well, of course, it's because food is very important to us. We all know that food is necessary to fuel our bodies, and thus it has substantial effects on our physical and mental health. It goes without saying that there's a need to be healthy and that everyone strives to do so. So why again is it so difficult to eat healthy? Well, first of all, we all know food tastes so good. I know, again, we can all agree on this. And because of this, it's understandably very difficult to moderate and control ourselves. There are lots of health apps and technological services available that help in this way. But in 2020, it feels just as difficult as ever to eat healthy, and obesity rates and the number of diagnosed eating disorders are still on the rise per year. So these health apps are not doing anything wrong. They're not spreading false information. So there must be something missing. And there is. The emotions are missing. We think that the emotional ingredient is currently left out in the ingredient for successful healthy eating. When we think about healthy eating, we often ignore the effects that food have on our mental state, and it's often left out of the discussion entirely. When we think about healthy eating, we almost always only consider what's best for our physical body, and we often forget the mental side. We consider which foods are the most dense in nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that are best for our physical body, and we overlook the emotional side. But recent studies have shown that our emotions and mood play a surprisingly more profound role than we expect. And just to emphasize this blind spot on healthy eating a bit more, we conducted a survey with 28 people, most of whom were actually Affectiva employees. And we asked them the question, do you think your mood affects what you eat? Out of these people, and not surprisingly, only one person said no. And this overwhelming majority is very intuitive and it makes sense to us. However, when we ask them the question, do you think the food you eat affects their mood? In stark contrast, only 59.1% of the people said yes. That's almost 50% fewer people who did not realize the effects that food had on their mood. Since research has already shown that this effect does indeed exist, this staggering conclusion shows how this is an idea that's relatively overlooked and maybe sometimes less intuitive for most people. And this is exactly what led us to investigate our issue. So as briefly mentioned before, this area of research is actually a very growing field and it's a very hot topic right now. All of these distinguished medical institutions are currently conducting research on this topic and or they have done so in recent years. And this correlation is actually so strong that some are even deeming it as the missing link to mental health care. So just to explain this relationship between food and mood a bit more, I'd like to share a quick story that will explain what we call the food and mood cycle. So say we have a busy mom who's on her way to pick up her kids from soccer practice. She's constrained on time, so she has no choice but to pick up some food from McDonald's or any other fast food restaurant. She does this despite knowing the possible consequences to her physical health, but she does not realize the possible consequences to her mental well-being. That night when she returns home and she has trouble sleeping, she assumes it's related to feelings of anxiety, and she overlooks any possible connection to food. The very next day, she is understandably very grumpy and upset from the lack of sleep, and she might even be stressed out from the feelings of anxiety she perceives herself to have. In this terrible mood, she clearly won't be in any state or be inclined to make the best and most healthy eating decisions. And without knowing it, she has just fallen into what we call the food and mood cycle. Of course, this doesn't always happen when you eat a burger from McDonald's, but as you can clearly see, this cycle can be endless, dangerous, and even very misleading. Research has even shown that overlooking the effects of food have caused previous cases of incorrect identification and diagnosis of mental disorders. So what exactly is wrong or missing from current health apps and products? For one, most of the current apps in the competitive scene of health-related products are not sufficiently personalized to the users. By only using metrics such as BMI and body type, these products essentially ignore the emotional and mental behavior of their users, which greatly reduces the accuracy, reliability, and trustworthiness of the products. Also, with over 250,000 current health products to choose from, it can be very overwhelming and intimidating for people to know which ones to use. And in the current state of health products, they're very exclusive in the sense that they're not interconnected in terms of data and usage. So how do we go about fixing all these pain points and issues? I'd like to now turn over to my teammate, Bella, who will be talking to you about our solution and our product.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Once again, I'm Bella Bedak, and I am proud to introduce to you our one-of-a-kind solution, the Emotition, an emotionally aware personal dietitian on your very own fridge. What are the features of Emotition? They give advice based on users' mood and recommend meals that you could eat. It keeps track of the food that you in your fridge and updates it automatically. It also features a grocery list feature. Lastly, it gives you some health statistics based on the nutrients that you've eaten throughout the day and a calorie count. How does this all work? It starts with cameras in the fridge that utilize computer vision to detect the food within your fridge. Number two, on the interface, we use Effectiva's SDK to detect the user's mood. That information is then given to the fridge's server, and then within the cloud, a decision is made on what recommendation should be given to the user. Our current prototype is a mobile app. Later, we plan to integrate this into smart fridges. Our current prototype utilizes Clarify to handle computer vision. In the future, again, we will make a more elaborate model, but for now, Clarify is able to recognize 1,000 food items down to the ingredient level. We also employ a decision tree-based machine learning model that takes in the food available in the fridge, the user's current mood, the user's history, and goals to make a meal recommendation to the user. 30 minutes after the recommendation, the user is asked to give feedback on how they're feeling based on that recommendation. That feedback is brought back into the model to improve future recommendations, making them more accurate and personalized. This decision tree model is incredibly scalable because as we grow as a company, we can add different factors into the tree to, again, further personalize these recommendations. We will now go over a brief demo about some amazing features that we already have and how this works. So setting up is easy. All you'll need to do is enter your name and have a valid email address. We'll then ask you some basic demographic information like height, weight, age, and gender. We'll then ask you if you have any allergies. Obviously, we wouldn't want to recommend you anything you're allergic to. We'll ask you about your diet. Then we'll ask you some specific questions about how mood affects your meal choices. For example, if you had a falling out with a significant other or a loved one and it made you really sad, what might you eat to make you feel happier? These questions, again, are to further personalize recommendations. We'll just show a few for now for the sake of time, and if we want to go back to some more questions, we can later. So getting meal advice is easy. Simply click on what should you eat. A scan of your face will be taken, and you will determine whether the mood that was detected was right or wrong. In this case, it was wrong. It will then show the ingredients in your fridge, and it will crowd surf the internet to find a recipe that incorporates that ingredient. No food in your fridge, that's no problem. You can still get a recommendation. It will again scan your face, ask you if the mood identified is correct. It will bring up a general list of ingredients that could help you. And again, you can click on any of those to crowd surf the internet and find a recipe that incorporates that. A future source of revenue for us will be to feature particular brands or foods and feature ads on our recipe crowdsurfing page. If you're feeling strongly about your current mood, you can simply click on one of our predefined moods. It will list what's in your fridge to help you, some general ingredients that can help you with that mood, and it will also give you some recommendations based on your history and what was recommended in the past and what worked for you. There's the what's in my fridge feature where you can also manually add food to your fridge just by simply searching and adding. You can also manually add things to your grocery list so you can keep track of what you need to buy. Lastly, we offer some basic health statistics such as a calorie count and the tracking of the nutrients that you consumed throughout the day based on your recommendations. Then simply log out and allow another family member to log in. The bigger picture, having everyone eat happier and healthier tomorrow. Emotition is for people trying to lose weight, gain weight, people with eating disorders, mood disorder, that busy mom on the go, your angsty teen, and well, everyone else. Everybody can benefit from mood-aware meal recommendations. Are you on the go? Do you not own a smart fridge yet? No worries. Emotition will also be available on the App Store for download so you can have it in your pocket at all times. Not sure if you have butter in your fridge and you're at the grocery store? Open up the What's in My Fridge tab and find out. At a restaurant, still want mood-aware advice? Simply click on the What Should I Eat Now and have a face scan and recommendation on the go. Emotition incorporates two markets that are on the rise, the mobile health market and the smart fridge market. In 2018, the mobile health market was estimated to be worth about $8 billion. And in 2025, it's expected to grow to $111.1 billion. And there's similar trends for the smart refrigerator market as well. What's next for Emotition? We'll need investments. We want to keep researching and developing our product. The first thing that we'll need to do is research the effects on of our recommendations on the user moods. We'll specifically focus on eating disorders such as bulimia, anorexia to see how we can track users' eating patterns and make better recommendations for them. Our research can also contribute to this growing field of mental health and diet. Lastly, we will integrate our UI mobile app into existing smart fridges, such as the Samsung Family Hub or the LG model. The future vision is to personalize healthcare for all. We hope to incorporate a feature of mental health diet coaching, again, for those people struggling with eating disorders to keep them on track and make sure that they're eating the correct amount. We also hope to link your favorite health and diet apps to Emotition so that you can seamlessly transfer your data to Emotition. We don't want to have you start over with Emotition. We want to meet you where you're at. Lastly, we will employ an NLP 24/7 chatbot assistant to personify this personal dietitian experience, and again, provide support to those in need throughout the whole entire day. Once again, we are team less than 3, and this is what we made in less than 3 weeks. Thank you very much. Again, we'd like to give a huge shout out to Kunjal for helping us so much with machine learning and just generally being an amazing mentor. We open the floor up to questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great presentation. I will kick it off with questions, AJ and Mike, if that's okay with you guys.
Sure.
I was going to ask about kind of a two-parter. So A, where is the camera placed on the fridge? And in follow-up, because what if there's more than one person that lives in the fridge, and also if those people are children, like can you detect like if a smaller child, like based on the camera position? And also follow-up question, you know, if there's more than one person living in the house, can you have multiple profiles, and how would that work?
Yes, so to first address the multiple profile, as you saw in the demo, you're able to create an account and log in. So it can handle several users because several people in your family can make a different account. And then when you're done using the emoticon, you can just simply log out. Obviously, a future feature that we'd love to incorporate is like facial recognition, just to make that process even easier for users. But for now, you are able to have multiple accounts. As far as the cameras in the fridge goes, the future for hardware will be to have cameras within the fridge and then also have like sensors and weights to detect specifically about the food. And then also the users, so we can remove as taking out from the fridge. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes. Great. Is there any concern around privacy or getting hacked, or have you thought through any of those kind of barriers too?
So Bella, I think I can take this question.
Sure.
For the database which we used, I used Firebase, which is on Google Cloud. And so I made sure to not include any identifiable information within the database itself. It only includes unique IDs for each user. So even if the database was hacked, they wouldn't be able to link it unless they directly hacked into my Google account. So I made sure that there was that level of security present. Yeah.
Okay. Great. I think I had questions as I was going, but you answered them pretty much throughout. So AJ and Mike, do you have any questions you want to ask these guys?
Yeah, sure. Great stuff. Thanks for the presentation. So two-part question. One, so the data, where does that come from about which foods make you more emotionally healthy? And number two, I guess the people with bulimia or other issues, you have to basically rely on them to self-report, right? So that seems kind of a bit, if they have that, they might be a bit hesitant to self-report if they're not staying with the program, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I can take it again. So I also, for the food to mood mapping, so we're first using the information which the user enters upon signing in. So like which food would they have for different emotions. So like when they're happy, then which food would they eat? If they're sad, which food would they eat to make themselves feel better? And in addition to that, we also did some research about which foods help with different emotions and which foods actually cause different emotions. So like say berries, they help with being happy and for reducing stress. And then say things like processed foods or like frozen pizzas, they actually cause those things. So we train the decision tree model on all of these different factors, and in that way we can make recommendations to the users. And in addition to that, there's also real-time training of the model whenever the users go and take something out of the food, and then they get the feedback from that, the model gets the feedback from that, whether or not the food made them feel better or made them feel worse. And could you repeat your second question? Sorry.
Yeah, so they have to self-report, right? So people who do have emotional issues might be hesitant or,
Yeah, so definitely mental disorders, they're generally, there's always that barrier in which people would have to self-report to actually get treatment. But we'd also aim to try to detect the trends present for people with bulimia or people who binge a lot. And that way we can actually like say, hey, you are showing symptoms of these. Would you maybe like to see a therapist or a psychiatrist, and maybe even provide some information about the same?
Yes, and I just want to add one point to that is in our prototype currently, these recommendations are based off of our research that we did for this project, just the research that we were able to do on nutrients and food and the connection between mood within these 2 weeks. However, in the future, we will bring participants into the lab and do more extensive research with how these nutrients can affect mood. And again, with people with eating disorders, again, we want to bring them into the lab and take a closer look and a more detailed look on how this product can help them.
Great, thank you.
Great, Mike, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to try to figure out why you chose kind of the refrigerator as the medium here, as opposed to like a smartphone and like an Instacart plug-in or something like that.
Yeah. Again, I guess I have an idea is for that is because, you're making most of your food decisions in front of your fridge before you open up your fridge, right? So it's important to have this interface like on your fridge so that, you don't have to think so much. I mean, your phone is a different component. A fridge is already incorporated into the food decision-making process.
And I just like to add on to that. I felt like it was important to have the fridge be able to detect which mood the user has and which food they're taking out simultaneously. And in addition to that, like seeing later on if that actually affected. So I thought that in that way we could actually present the statistics to the user and say, hey, you are actually taking a lot of this product out when you are feeling sad. Maybe you could try this product because that's also in your fridge.
Group 1, sorry, that's all the time you guys have for questions and things like that.
Great. Awesome. So thank you guys again for your presentation. I'm going to give AJ, Mike, and I a minute to fill out the form and go through the rubric. Next up, we have census. So if you guys just want to get ready, take a minute, get everything loaded, maybe share your screen, and then we'll submit the form and hand it off to you guys.